Yeah, I think it's a positive for our industry. So I think our image is getting better. And I think let's give ourselves a little credit. Let's not just say, oh, well, people aren't working and they're getting free government money and they don't have anything else to do, so they go bowl.
Mm.
You know what? Let's give ourselves a little credit. We are the place that people can go as a family, have a good time. They can go together as friends, have a good time. And look at maybe we've gotten a little better at what we've done.
Awesome. So thanks so much for coming on today, Mike. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be one of the best ones we've done. So for the people who haven't met you, I don't know if there's many out there in the bowling industry, but those who haven't, tell us about the companies you're working with and what you're up to today.
All right. Yeah, it was great to be here, Forrest. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you about bowling. I currently operate, my main job is president of Station 300 Group. We currently have 4 bowling centers, a couple in Michigan, one in Georgia, and one down in South Carolina. Basic FEC hybrid concept, bowling, food, arcade, and always looking for more revenue streams. Then I also am one of the managing partners of the Hansel Group. We put buyers and sellers together to try to keep bowling going and not see our bowling centers torn down across the country. So
Right.
it's always fun to get some new fresh blood in the industry. So I always enjoy that. And then we have First Frame Bowling Group, which is a management company. We do a lot of management services. And most of the time now we focus on helping people work through the issues that we're all facing, right, in the industry, anything from staffing and training to we do a lot of fiscal work. My
Mm.
partner, Travis Harper, writes a lot of articles in the
Right.
industry magazines and discussing P&Ls and inventory and things of that nature. So, and then our last portion of that, we just agreed to sign on and work with Cubica, and we're going to help them do their training with their DASL program
Yeah.
to help centers get that set up, which is a really nice tool to work with when you can get your numbers, your sales numbers
Hmm.
set into your categories on your QuickBooks program. And one big last step, and you don't have to worry about dealing with an accountant to do that type of work or pay someone to do data entry. So
Right.
that's what we're focusing on right now. So that's pretty much
Mhm.
what I'm doing today.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about maybe some of the things that have led you into it. You've had some centers before and you've been around the industry for a while. Just give me a quick run through of how you got here.
I started out in the bowling business by just enjoying bowling as a kid. Dad took me to the bowling center. I loved it. Got in the league, bowled league, and just through high school, one of my friends that I met, Dale Strike, his father was a general manager of a bowling center in my
Mhm.
hometown. And a high school kid gets their first job
Of
and started
course.
working at bowling and loved it and
Mhm.
just always stuck with it. And I bowled collegiately at Saginaw Valley and worked part time at the center. And I just decided this is what I wanted to do. And a friend of mine told me, hey, if you really want to learn the business, you need to work for like Brunswick or Fairlanes, which were the
Yeah,
chain back then
sure.
in the mid 80s. So I did, went to work for Fairlanes and learned a lot about P&L statements and cost controls and the basic 101s. And then just from there went on and worked for Fairlanes and a few independents, and then bought a few centers of my own along the way, and always just loved the operations side of it, which has
Mhm.
led me to stay in the business now going on about 40 years.
Yeah, you'll always have a job in operations.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That's very cool. So yeah, tell me a little bit then, speaking of operations, some of the stuff that's working well for you and your 4 centers today, and maybe even some of your consulting clients. What's some of the stuff you're seeing? You talked a lot about how to actually get a league rolling and doing the hard work of being out there on the floor. Tell me a little bit about some of the stuff you see working.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those guys that still believe that I was taught a lot of really, really good rules and ways that were pretty much set in the industry back in the day where
Mhm.
you get your database, you make sure you call your bowlers before leagues, you send them reminder notices, you get down in the pits and just talk to your bowlers and ask
Mhm.
them to bowl in leagues and get to know your people. And I think so many times in the last, let's call it the internet era, right, where we can just send out an email and then it was a
Mhm.
text and now it's social media and Facebook. Everybody thinks it's a magic pill that you just put it on Facebook and we'll
Mhm.
get bowlers. And we really focus very hard on still trying to have that one-on-one relationship in our centers with our bowlers, and you have to ask people to join a league. Yeah, sending stuff out on Facebook and email blast, people see it, they think about it, but everybody likes to be invited. You want to be
Yeah.
invited to the party, right?
Right.
So I think that's what we focus mostly on, keeping it old school. And we still do work social media, we still work databases, but we try to really make it to where our people relate to their customers. And I took one of my other keys up to a couple of our centers in Michigan the other day to talk about some of the improvements we want to make in the F&B area and such. And the first thing he noticed about the one center that we were at, he goes, wow, look at how all their people are engaged with the bowlers. The assistant managers out talking to people, our waitresses. There was a much more engagement than our other center, which is a little bit more modern and newer way of doing things in South Carolina. So it was great to see him notice that.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that you talk about what's working is, I think sometimes we just forget how important it is just to watch. And that's all he was doing. He was just watching.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get so caught up in things, and sometimes we just forget to sit back and just watch what's really going on in your center. Watch that person walk into your building and see what they do when they get over to the arcade area, and see what their interaction is with the kiosk, or did they go to the person at the counter to help them get a card, and just see how your people interact. And I think it's so important, and I think we would really learn a lot. I mean, I know I do it all the time, and I've talked to several other good operators. Kevin Walters, who has Pinheads in Indiana, he goes, I sit in the car and watch people walk out to see if they have a smile on their face.
Yeah.
Right. So
right.
I think we need to get back to what's working for us. Is we like to do have a ball leagues. We like to do special events every quarter, and we just really try to give it a really good service experience. And be perfect all the time? Absolutely not.
Sure.
I'm not going to say that we do everything right all the time, but that's our philosophy. That's what we try to project to our customer base, that they're going to come in, they're going to get a quality product at a fair price, and the machines are going to go up and down. The ball's going to be coming back every time, and the food's good and the beer's cold. You know, that's our goal every day. We're not going to try to do something we can't. So I think keeping it simple and just focusing on the quality of what you're offering, from the customer service to your product, you're going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. I like I like your approach, because like you said, a lot of people are looking for that magic bullet or that secret recipe kind of thing. And your approach has always been, now it's just do the blocking and tackling, the fundamentals, and people are going to have a great time and come back. And I always like that about your approach.
Yeah, I think it's true. And I always say that some of us that have been in the business a long time, we're probably not the smartest people in the world, because we've just been in bowling. But what we do know, because most guys that really put their heart and soul into the industry, and you've met a lot of them over your time of bringing new clients onto your platform, is that the guys that have done it, I mean, they do it because of the love of the sport and love of the business. So
their customers, exactly.
They've tried everything. We might not be the smartest, but we didn't miss the obvious. If there was an easier way and a better way to do it, we'd be doing it, right? All these other things that come along in technology and social media, those are just another tool to help. But at the end of the other day, it's still what the people that come into your business see you do. That's what impresses them.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of that, that's another fundamental that I've heard you talk about a lot, that you seem to have a good knack for, is kind of that culture building and spotting good people. Could you talk a little bit about that, and maybe some of the things you look for? Because you've talked about a couple of different instances where you saw something in someone and offered them for a placement with maybe like the Bowl Connect, and people didn't see what you saw, and then it turns out that they did have those things innate in their ability. So talk to me a little bit about what you look for in someone who is a good manager, because that's such an integral part of a good center, is a good manager, that leadership.
Right, exactly. And I'm a believer, obviously, being an operations manager myself for many years. When I worked for independents and I worked for chains, and the last thing anybody wants is somebody looking over their shoulder all the time,
Right.
right? And questioning everything you do.
Yeah.
Most people have a method to their madness. And if they don't, you'll see the weakness pretty quickly,
Yeah.
right? And it's still a people business. So the thing that we look for and I look for is that person that has that personality and has the passion to be successful and love what they do. And I have a gentleman that works for me, and I was hired on by this bowling center to help them get it turned around and find a manager. They'd hired me in as a management company, and I was there for about 2, 3 weeks, and I just kept watching. And I was watching that all the customers were going to the guy at the counter. Them.
Hmm.
The managers would be in the building, the owners would be in the building, and they would go to him. And I'm like, well, that's the dude right there, man. The bowlers like him, the bowlers
Yeah.
trust him. And so I told that group that I said, your manager's right here. It's in the building. And I told them who it was, and they didn't believe me, but they trusted me enough to promote him, and
Hmm.
he became the general manager, and things started turning around because he understood
Hmm.
what that clientele base was, what they were looking for. He understood it.
Hmm.
And he was working the desk, so he knew the open play bowlers, he knew the league bowlers. And to this day, I was fortunate enough when we bought a bowling center in the area that he lived and that he was available. So he helped us open up Gainesville Bowling Center in Georgia, and he was general manager when we opened. And going on our third year, he's still the general manager, and the numbers keep going up, and he does a great job. So,
Yeah.
and he applied for other center positions with larger companies. He was actually in the AMF system for a while,
Mm.
and he applied at other groups and people. And some people have this idea of what somebody should be and what they should look like and how they should act. Well,
Right.
again, there's something to be said for that. And I was lucky that I found Cheyenne, and we became friends, and now working for me. And same thing, we have a young lady that worked at our center in South Carolina from the day it opened. And when I took over that center, I asked about people, and she wasn't even on their radar.
Hmm.
Not even on their radar. She's been here, and but then when I got there, I saw that she knew how to do everything in the building,
Right.
from expoing and cooking to running food and working the counter and doing the arcade. And so I made her our arcade manager, and she got some more confidence, and she showed me that she could lead and she could do what needed to be done. And we just kept moving her up the ranks. And she's now been our general manager in Bluffton for the last 2.5 years. And we just keep beating prior year's numbers every year, just go. So I, I think sometimes we overlook what's right there in front of us, and that's been our
Right.
focus as we continue to have plans to grow. We're trying to train from within, and we feel we have 2 or 3 really good candidates in our system right now that if we were to buy another center, that we would be very confident in offering them that position.
Hmm.
So yeah, trying to build that culture to find your next replacement within your system, and to trust your general managers to do the job. I mean, so many bowling centers want to hire a manager, and then they don't even share the financials with them. They don't let them
Yeah.
know if they're doing good or
Right.
bad, or how do we expect someone to be successful if we don't give them the resources to be successful?
Right.
So I think that's why you're better off watching and seeing how your people react and work with them, and try to build a positive culture. And all of our managers at our centers get to see each other's numbers. I
Mm.
want that manager that's in fourth place to have the passion to not be in fourth place
Right.
anymore.
Little
Right. I want
competition.
them to know what they have to be. And never do we ever, geez, you're still on the bottom. No,
Right.
what's wrong? Give them the encouragement, and take the little steps to continue to improve, and give them more resources and revenue streams, and let them have the same resources as the guy that's in first place. And that's important too. You have to take risks in this business, and I'm very fortunate to work for an ownership group that understands that. It's not afraid to reinvest. Always
Right.
makes your job easier when you can always get the best that's out there, and
Right.
put the newest scoring and upgrade things when they need to be upgraded. So
Mhm.
we're at a very good position right now, but that's sort of what I try to look for. And I've been really lucky to have some people within. And the last thing too, for us, I think is very important that we forget to do. And I was guilty of this when I owned my own centers. I didn't send my managers to anything. I
Mm.
went.
Yeah. Right.
So they need to be educated too. So
Right.
if you can ever work it out to go to a state or a regional trade show, and I know there's not that many left anymore, but try to get them there. I know we've got a couple of our people in
Mm.
the Carolinas, Georgia show was just these last couple of days,
Yeah.
and we sent a couple people there, and
And don't forget Bowling
try to get
University
people.
too.
Yeah, exactly. Bowling
They do a great
University,
job.
Bowl Expo.
Mhm.
There's great education in Bowl Expo. And then they
Right.
get to meet a lot of people in the industry. And I
Right.
think that's important. I mean, what I do in this industry is all based on the 40 years of getting to know people,
Mhm.
right? And you and I've had this talk. I mean, it's networking, right?
Right. Right. Mhm.
You've got to network. This is a very small industry, so it's
That's
not
true.
that difficult. And
Right.
you have a conversation with somebody after about 5 minutes, pretty easy to find that you have a mutual acquaintance in this business.
Right. Yeah, and I found that, and I think it's because of the dynamics of the market in bowling that there's usually only one center per town. It's not like they're all competing on the same corner. So that just as a consequence, the industry is very open and sharing and giving. They'll tell you everything that's worked for them and what's working because you're down the street, you're not fighting over the same customer. So yeah, here's what worked for me. Everyone is that I've talked to is pretty much that way. It's really cool
Oh,
to see.
absolutely.
Most industries aren't that way.
No, you're absolutely right. I've never had an issue when I was in a market, even if I
Mhm.
was in a bigger market. Everybody, look at they all like to talk about their places. We're all proud of them,
Mhm. Sure.
right? And you go on Facebook and look at the proprietor sites, man. There's always people asking questions, and
Yeah,
every time somebody asks a question, they get about 300 comments,
it's
good or
true.
bad,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But but that's what you want. If you're asking a question, you want opinions. So
Right.
I agree with you. This is a great industry, and the vendors in this industry and the distributors in the industry, as well as the proprietors themselves, most people are always very, very giving with their time and information,
Mhm. Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
take advantage of it.
Yeah. So speaking of which, let's see if we can get some information out of you out of something that's been a struggle for a lot of centers that you've been working on is staffing. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit maybe about some of the things that's worked for you in the past or that you're doing today, or what are you doing with Bull Connect and how are you tackling this for the industry?
Well, it's at such an infancy stage. Bull Connect.
Hmm.
I did it out of the frustration of what we just talked about, putting stuff on Facebook, and
Yeah.
we were looking for a mechanic, and I put something out there, and all of a sudden I got all these people. Oh, somebody got fired, or this or that. And I'm like, why is this guy even commenting on this if he's not
Hmm.
looking for a job, right? I posted it as a position.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, the one thing about this industry that I've always tried to do in the last, well, it hasn't been my whole career, obviously, but the last 10 to 15 years is I've finally made the decision that I'm a professional. This is what I do and I'm good at it, and I'm not going to be ashamed of it anymore. So what am I going to do to make things better for somebody? So we started Bowl Connect, and it's just really a platform for clients to come on there and say, hey, I need a mechanic, or hey, I need a manager, or hey, I'm looking for a food and beverage person.
Hmm.
And it started out at the higher levels because obviously, look, if you're looking for a counter guy, I'm not going to get somebody moving from California to
Right.
Pennsylvania to take a
Sure.
$15 an hour job. It's not
Right.
going to work. So we started out at a very high end level, and it's gotten stronger and better. We're getting more and more people involved. But I think the key to that, we're starting to get people that they feel confident now that if they do want to look for another position, we're a confidential and it's a professional setting.
Yeah.
We're putting two people together that are wanting the same thing, someone looking for a job and someone looking to hire somebody.
Hmm.
So as far as that goes, that's been very helpful. And what we tell people all the time, and people that use us is, look, you just can't stop. You're going to go through 10 to find one. In today's
Sure.
market, you're probably going to go through 20 to
Right.
find one to even show up to the interview, right? So we're relying a lot on our current employees to find friends and to talk to customers, posting things, putting stuff up on your screens, putting them everywhere you can. A lot of people are using the Indeeds and such, but we really haven't had a lot of luck through that because
Mhm.
a lot of people just post their resume, and if you meet a couple of the criteria, you automatically get a resume sent to
Right.
you.
Yep.
And then you can't get the person to respond because they have no idea of what you're actually looking for. And they don't know anything about bowling. So they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to answer the call.
Right.
So, I mean, we're out there grinding it like everybody else. And as you and I talked earlier this last week, we've been discussing another opportunity using email blasts and stuff
Mhm.
and try to use some different ways to interview people. These young kids today, I told our managers to start offering a Facebook interview. I mean, excuse me, not Facebook, a FaceTime interview.
Right.
And let's not intimidate them when they immediately walk in the door, because we get a lot of people don't even show up. And I think a lot of it is they're
Mhm.
afraid.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they're used to holding that 4-inch screen in front of their face, right? The younger
Right.
people.
Meet them where
we'd
they,
love
yeah,
to
meet
do
them
a
where they are.
Yeah, so let's do a
Yeah.
FaceTime interview, and we'll take the FaceTime interview and then say, hey, if you're really interested, we'd love to come in and just show you around the center. A lot of people have luck with just doing the casting call and having everybody come to their center. That's great. You just
Mhm.
got to make sure that you have more than one person trying to do it all.
Right.
You want to never leave anybody standing by themselves and not feeling like they're getting attention. That's the only reason I'm not a big fan of those, but it
Yeah.
works in some places better
Sure.
than others.
If you can get the applicants, yeah.
And the other
Some
thing that
can, some can't.
yeah, and you know what my biggest pet peeve, and I saw this when I was at one of my clients' bowling centers, and they just got done complaining to me how they can't get any, and somebody came in and filled out an application
Mhm.
while I was there. And the desk person made a comment to the manager and said, hey, this person's over here. Well, all right, well, tell them I'll call them. I said, no. I said, go talk to them
Yeah.
right
Right.
now.
Yeah. While
You
they're
just got
interested.
done complaining. No one comes in. Go do it.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think that happens more than we want to admit.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the times they just don't have a good, smooth process. So someone apply and you're busy, obviously, especially this time of year, you're busy. You don't get back to them for a few days and they've moved on. They're no
Oh,
longer
no
interested, or they
doubt.
found another job. You want to. They've done studies about how quickly to get to a lead, whether it's someone who's calling in for a birthday party or application, and they say if it's 90% higher response rate if you get to them within 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
And we're
'Cause
taking
you're on their
5 days.
mind.
Exactly.
You're
We're
on their
taking.
mind. If
Mhm.
you give them another 5 minutes, they're already calling the next place.
They're gone. Yeah, they've moved
Oh,
on.
no. The jump part gave me a great deal. I'm happy with them.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So and communication is the key. And even using communication, going back to the league stuff that we do and the promotions that we do in our centers and in our food and beverage, the biggest mistake that all of us make, because sometimes you've got to let everybody know what's going on.
Mhm.
That desk person needs to know what your protocol is if someone walks in the
Right.
door and gives you an application.
Yeah.
Our
Mhm.
center all of our centers told all the managers, you find whoever the manager on duty is immediately,
Yeah.
and you get them in front of that person.
Mhm.
And if you're going to run a have a ball league, or you're going to run Taco Tuesday, or whatever it is, you cannot have people in your center that don't know what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, hey, where do I have to go to find out more information about the new Rum Bucket League?
Mhm.
I don't know anything about a Rum Bucket League, man.
Right. Yeah. Right. You think they're gonna go find out on their own?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the communication is so important, and believe me, if centers just do what I was telling about, just go in your center and
Mhm.
watch, you'll be shocked sometimes at what happens. And you're like, wow, how did I miss that?
What's your protocol for the communication? You guys EOS followers, or what do you guys use?
No, basically, again, I'm not a really high tech dude or anything. I try to get my managers to have staff meetings every couple weeks
Okay.
and just talk to
Mhm.
their people, let them know what's going on,
Yeah.
show them the flyers, talk about what's happening, let people know. Like, we're getting ready now. We'll start pushing Kids Bowl free this
Yeah.
next week. We'll start promoting it because March 1, they can start signing up, and And in most of our centers, we put a laptop out at the front desk so we can register people right there at the center.
Right. Yeah.
And that helps tremendously getting people signed up. And then also, too, they can explain the family pack, the family program when they're there. Because a lot of people just go in there and they skip it because they don't want to pay any money, because you tell them, oh, it doesn't cost anything other than your shoes, right? But if you explain the family pass and what value it is. So we set up
a lot more of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we push it really hard. And I mean, we have a new center that just came on board this summer. So, and they've done Kids Bowl free, but not to the extent we do. So we have a lot of training to do in that center. So I just try to, again, keep my managers communicating. Some of the centers have their own little in-center communication, Facebook page with employees, stuff like that.
Nice.
We haven't done that on a corporate level, just because that's just not how I like to communicate. I spend 90% of my day on the telephone.
Right.
That's what I like to do.
Some of them you can do voice notes. You can just talk into it.
Yeah. So I'm old school, man. I'm 60 now. So trying to teach the old dog new tricks sometimes is a little difficult. So as you saw me trying to get on Zoom.
Right. Yeah, you made it. We're here.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's cool. If everybody can do that, that's great, man. I think it's fantastic. It's just not me. So when it comes to technology, I'm not your dude that's gonna rock your world.
Right. Hey, the need is there. You found a way to meet it. That's all that matters.
That's what we try to do, man.
Yeah. Very cool. One other thing I wanted to talk to you about, as being a guy who's really into the operations, is the food and bev side. So I think that's a lot of times that's the one that's tough, because it adds another layer of complexity and staff, and bowling for the most part is relatively straightforward. But what do you do to run the food and bev side, or what are some tips you could offer people on making sure that's smooth or improving that part of the operation?
Well, I keep it really simple. And the one thing I really rely on heavily is that my managers put somebody else in charge other than them. I want somebody that's going to be, I want them to have that responsibility to understand. We can train people how to put in orders, and we can train people on how to do inventory, and we can show them where we want to be on cost control and how we come up with pricing, right? Yeah. I can do that. I can help with that, but you've got to have somebody that's managing it all the time. And I think that was number one when I took on the centers. And I started out with the one center, and it was a full-fledged restaurant, man. When I first took over, I mean, they had steak and pasta and calamari, but our costs were just out of line. I didn't think the quality was that great. We were trying to compete with the Outback that's a half a mile away. Why would we do that?
Right.
So when we came in, there was we simplified everything to be sports bar oriented in all of our centers. All four of our centers have a sports bar. And we just keep it really simple, man. We do fresh hamburger patties. We do fresh chicken wings by the 40-pound boxes. We cut our own chicken breasts into our tenders. We bread them ourselves. We do our own pizza. And
I think I remember you saying those are the three things that every center needs, is those three menu items.
Yeah, we don't have a big menu. I mean, our menu is one page. And we just try to keep it really simple. We do a lot of shareables. We push happy hour at our places. And we just don't try to do something that we can't do well.
Right.
And I think that's the key to the food of what we're doing. I mean, again, we were trying to operate a business that didn't really reflect what our customer base was. Our customer base, most of the people are blue collar. They like sports. They like hanging out with their families. That's what we focus on. What do kids like to eat? Chicken tenders, burgers, pizza.
Right.
So we have a couple of items. Obviously, we do the grilled chicken, and we try to offer salads for those that want it. But for the most part, man, you're coming in, you're using your hands to eat. Everybody goes, oh, yeah, you're bowling, you want to eat with your hands. Dude, I'm telling you, your league bowlers aren't going to probably order a dozen wings while they're bowling, but they'll do it before they bowl, or they'll come in and do it after they bowl. Yeah. But open play bowlers don't care. They're there to have fun, right? So So that's all we really do. We just focus on trying to offer a real quality product, and we try to
Yeah,
really keep it simple.
I like that.
It's
Yeah.
easier as far as finding your help. A perfect
Mhm.
example, the kid that is now basically our kitchen manager. When I walked into that center in 2018, this kid applied for a job. He'd never had a job before in his life. He was 17 years old. His mom brought him to the bowling center. And I sat down, I interviewed him, and I said, well, what do you want to do? What are you thinking about? He goes, well, because I'd sort of like to learn the kitchen. He was getting ready to turn 18.
Mhm.
And I said, yeah, I said, that would be great. We'd love to train you in the kitchen. So he worked for about a week or so. And he saw me walk through the center one day and he said, hey, you know what I'd really like to learn to do? And I said, what's that? He goes, I want to learn to make the pizzas. So we taught him how to make pizzas, and he worked as our pizza guy for about 2 years. Of course, obviously
Mm.
COVID, we slowed down, but we were
Sure.
still serving pizzas to go at that time. So he
Yeah.
stayed on and was working. And we made some more changes and things, and now he's our kitchen manager. And he's
Very
never
cool.
been
Yeah.
educated on anything but our way
Right.
of doing things. But
Yeah.
he watched. So he knows how to par bake our wings on our busy
Yeah.
days and ready for football day, right? And he knows how to prep up things that we need, and he understands now how much we go through in a week and what a Wednesday night's compared to a Thursday night where we have a full bar of trivia. And it's really cool to see that happen. And I think the main thing is if you keep it simple enough, you're not trying to, well, I need an F&B guy, and I need somebody that did this, and I need somebody that did that. Well, for the most part, other than if you get up in the upper Midwest, because Wisconsin, Michigan, states like that have a lot of places that supper clubs, and they do way more food than they do bowling. They are
Yeah.
the players.
Yeah. That's
But
true.
but not a lot of those need full chefs.
You don't. Yeah.
Everybody sort of freaks out because they see some of these other places that have gone into getting chefs, but they're usually in larger metropolitan areas.
Right.
And
It
are you
really
really
complicates
competing?
things.
Yeah, are you really competing with the other restaurants?
You don't
You
want to.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
no.
You don't want to
You know,
fight you're fighting their battle or you're playing their game. You want to play your game.
exactly. And our place in South Carolina, it took us 4 years to do it, but now it's exactly what we wanted it to be.
Mhm.
We have a lot of locals. You can't get a stool at the bar Monday through Friday night because we have
Yeah.
happy hour from 4 to 6. We got people ordering shareables, and we have people in there. We do the NFL ticket on Sundays, and we average about 60 people every Sunday coming in and watching the games and eating and drinking. And it took us a while to get there, but we just stayed steadfast in what we wanted to be and what we wanted to do. So I think
Yeah.
keeping your food, just be really good at.
Mhm.
We did tacos during, I think it was the NCAA basketball tournament a year ago. We decided to offer a steak taco and a chicken taco. We didn't even have tacos on our menu, but it was simple, right? And it's easy to
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
Everybody told us how great they were. So we kept them on the menu. And now we have Taco Tuesday. And we'll get 30, 40 people come in and have dinner at our bowling center to eat
Yeah.
tacos.
On a Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on a Tuesday night.
Right. Mhm.
So, we run specials. We do. We do Monday night. We're not afraid to run a good special. We run Monday night burger night, which is a basic burger with an L top. And
Mhm.
then if they want to order fries or anything above it, it's above the regular price. We do our Taco Tuesday, and they have the option of the tacos. And I think that we do a taco pizza type thing if they want to
Okay.
do something like that.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday night is Wild Wing Wednesday. Shocker, really original
Right.
name.
Yeah.
But we
Brutal.
get our base. We get our base
Yeah.
that they come in. And so we just keep it simple, man. And I think if people just really focus on being really good at something, you'll
Mhm.
be surprised how the word gets out. And use your bowlers, man. You've got a captive audience Monday through Thursday, man. Give
Mhm.
out samples, do something, let them know how good it is. And
Right.
you'll be surprised. You'll be
Mhm.
surprised.
I like that. Yeah, I like that approach. There's actually I'll give you a couple statistics. There's one fast food company that makes more profit than McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC combined, and they have 1/4 of the menu items because they're really good at one thing, and maybe you can guess it, but it's Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, and they're open
So
6 days a week.
exactly. And they have more profit, yeah, than all those guys combined.
Yeah.
They have a quarter of the menu items. They're really good at making the chicken sandwich, and they don't go out of their lane. They're really good at that one thing, and they stick to it. They keep it simple. So
Yeah,
it's proven.
it is. And especially in our industry where we're fighting the roller coaster battles of cost, right?
Yeah.
And they're mispick and not mispicking, but we're having to use other product to fill what our normal stuff doesn't come in, right?
Right.
So our costs are always jumping up and down. And if you just do the basic stuff, you don't have to satisfy everybody. If somebody wants to get a bowl of spaghetti before they go bowl, let them stop at Olive Garden. But
Sure.
if they want to have a really good burger, then they're going to come to you.
Right.
They know you have it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. That's good advice. So I know we're coming to the top of the hour and I want to be respectful of your time. So the last thing I wanted to go through with you is just kind of where you see things going, maybe the next 18 months, 12 months in the bowling industry. What are some things you see coming down the road or some things to watch out for or trends to ride?
Well, obviously, all of us were expecting to see a slowdown because
Mhm.
we were all told we were going to have this recession and people were going to stop spending money. And I think all of us after January have all said, wow, well, that didn't happen.
Right.
So obviously, business is still good. And I think we just have to stay diligent. I think coming out of COVID did a lot of positive things for our industry. I
Mhm.
mean, I hate to say this, and I'll admit our center was one just as guilty as anybody. I think if you walk into any bowling center now, you're starting to see centers look cleaner because people
Mhm.
took the pride in
Yeah.
keeping the center clean. And if you walk into most centers, they still have the hand sanitizers up,
Right.
and they've
Yeah.
continued.
I
So
think it became
I
more of
think
a
that's a
priority
positive.
too.
Yeah, I think it's a positive for our industry. So I think our image is getting better. And I think let's give ourselves a little credit. Let's not just say, oh, well, people aren't working and they're getting free government money and they don't have anything else to do, so they go bowl.
Mhm.
You know what? Let's give ourselves a little credit. We are the place that people can go as a family, have a good time. They can go together as friends, have a good time. And look at maybe we've gotten a little better at what we've done. So
Mhm.
keep doing it, guys. Keep working hard and keep making it a place that your community wants to come to. I
Mhm.
think the biggest thing that we're going to see, and this is due to us not being able to find staff, especially mechanics. I think we have to blame ourselves on why we lost a lot of mechanics in the
Yeah.
industry. Some of our people didn't do a very good job of using the COVID money and keep their employees, right? They told them to
Yeah.
go file unemployment, and these guys went out and found better jobs with
Right.
benefits. And now we have no mechanics. So I believe you're going to see the string pin movement come hot. I suspect that the USBC is going to approve them for sanctioning this spring. So I think there's going to be a lot of decisions for some people. I know I'm looking at it. I'm a traditionalist, so I'm not a big fan of it.
Mhm.
But I'm just going to work really hard to continue to try to educate some employees and try to send them to some pin chaser mechanic schools and try to get my head mechanics to train the replacements. And no, I'm not just going to wait until they're good and then fire my mechanic. I hate that mentality. I wish people
Yeah.
would get out of it. I mean, I have a hard time believing that happens. Maybe it happens with a big corporate place, but most independent guys are going to keep that guy that can fix the machines around as
Yeah.
long as they can, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be another really strong spring and summer. I expect summer to be very strong again. I think more and more people are learning now after a number of years of programs like Kids Bowl Free and other programs that people they've perfected it a little bit better. They know how to
Mhm.
market. They know how to get people to come in and take advantage of it. And so I'm expecting things to continue to grow. A lot of the guys that I talk to are telling me that their league bowling base is getting stronger.
Yeah. I've
Um,
heard that from a few people.
and we're seeing that. And I think if we just continue to generate the youth programs, and the one thing that we have in our industry that I think we really need to focus on, and I'm a big proponent. If anybody ever decides to start a committee, I will volunteer as much time as needed to start this. But I really believe we have to come up with a way. We have more high school bowlers, more collegiate bowlers
Mhm.
ever than ever before.
Right.
And these are kids that love to bowl, and not all of them are 220 average bowlers, man. They're just bowling.
Mhm.
They're on a team, which we love to have teams of bowling in our centers, right? So what are we
Right.
doing to find a place for these people? Look at some 22-year-old kid coming out of college, or a 19-year-old kid who decides not to go to college, was working a job but bowled in high school. Does he want to come bowl with a bunch of 60-year-old men on Tuesday nights? Probably
Right.
not.
Yeah. Right.
So what are we doing to attract these kids to our centers? And look, if there's no magnet that's going to bring them all in automatically, but there's got to be
Yeah.
a way to start promoting some programs that maybe are a little bit more late night. And I'm not talking about $2 Wednesdays. That's not what they want,
Right.
right? $2 Wednesday has been going on, but these kids bowled in a somewhat of a competitive program. So
Mhm.
they want to find another competitive program that's fun, like it was when they were in high school, or like
Right.
it was in college. So I don't know the answer to it, but I know our industry, that if we get the right people on a committee or two, I think we can come up with something pretty cool.
Right.
But I just don't think the effort has been made. So
Mhm.
that's
That's a
that's
great
pretty
idea.
much that's what I see happening.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to continue to try doing my best. And I love the industry. I love the people in this industry. You and I just met really for the first time this last month, and you
Yeah.
and I are starting to talk about working on things. So
Right.
I'm excited that there's new people in the industry trying to do new things. And I just hope everybody continues to work hard and try to come up with what the next best thing is for our
Mhm.
industry.
Yeah, it's really quite an exciting time. It's a cool time to be a part of it. I'm glad
Agreed.
that I am. Cool. Well, Mike, I could keep talking about this stuff all day, as I'm sure you could,
Yeah.
but I want to be respectful of your time. If people want to reach out to learn more about either Bowl Connect or First Frame or any of the companies you have, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, the best way to connect with me is my email address, because I'll get back to you right away. Is MikeBowl44@gmail.com.
Easy to
And
remember.
I'll be more than happy to call and talk with you. Or like I said, we have firstframebowling.com, and
Mhm.
Hansel Group, which is connected to that, which is thehanselgroup.com. And
Mhm.
then bowlconnect.com, which is bowl/connect.com. But if you
Mhm.
email me, have questions about anything, rest assured I'll respond to you and tell you to give me a call, and we can chat about whatever you want to chat about.
Mhm. And I can confirm you got back to me too.
Yeah, I enjoy talking to
Yeah.
people about this bowling thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, yeah, I appreciate it, Mike. This has been great. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely, anytime for us. I had a great time. Thanks for
Yeah.
inviting me.
Thank you.